Hi, it's Becky again. I'm going to go over another scan that I'm in the middle of interpreting right now. Remember, this is not, this is for education purposes only. This is not diagnosing, curing, or treating anything. Again, just trying to educate you guys to get the pieces put together. So I've already done vitals, I've done inner voice, and I did body systems. So I'm old fashioned. I don't like spreadsheets. My brain is kind of unique in the way that it thinks and processes. So I write and track down everything from scan to scan. And I'm writing down all the things that are showing up on the vitals that are double reds, nines, or double red ones. And then the highlighted things are the things that are a reoccurring pattern, either within all of the scans or all three of the scans. So then for me, I kind of like to look at, this is all the stuff that's important, but then the focused areas are the highlighted areas. So again, that's how my brain thinks. That's how I track. So, and I'm a visual person. So with this, we have albumin, we have circulating immune complex, and then ferritin coming up. So albumin usually usually has to do with the liver. So in his case, albumin is a 9, and it's been a 9 consistently as I've been tracking it. So typically that's going to be a hydration issue, typically dehydration. You can support that with bile acids, decongesting the liver, which is one of the big things that we're working on with this person, making sure they're getting hydrochloric acid, minerals, chlorophylls, beets and artichokes. So that's albumin. Circulating immune complex, I already know there's something immune-wise going on with him. There's been mold exposure. There's been Lyme, Epstein-Barr, the typical umbrella of Lyme, mold, Epstein-Barr, parasites, Borrelia, Babesia, Bartonella, heavy metals. Ferritin's coming up on him too. So ferritin can either be a sign of an inflammatory response, which he does have, or blood sugar regulations, which he does have also. Don't forget blood sugar regulation is super important if you're trying to buffer overall inflammation. I don't think people really take blood sugar management like serious enough. So let's see what else is coming up. Fatty acids look really good. So we're definitely getting in all the omega-3s and the good fats. Chakras and meridians look pretty good. There's not a lot coming up in the digestive function because we've been doing the gut program for 2 months now. Still low with hydrochloric acid and pepsin production, which again, we are still working on. So yeah, HCl, pepsin, bile acids, we're again still working to thin the bile so that the liver can detox, and making sure that we're getting enough stomach acid. In the inflammation section, we have cytokines, which again, I know there's stuff going on in his immune system, so his immune system is being revved. We also have homocysteine and histamine. Insulin resistance, there are a couple categories coming up in that category, but again, we are working on managing blood sugar. Same thing with A1C and blood glucose. So that all, again, kind of correlates with managing the blood sugar. So we already talked about cytokines, inflammation, blood sugar. Amino acids. Looks like we have methionine. It seems to be the only one. So now we're already starting to put some pieces together here. Minerals, we have copper, which has come up quite a few times as well. So we've been keeping an eye on that, and boron, selenium. So we just started increasing the selenium dosage. Hydration and collagen are still coming up. So again, we had already referred to hydration with albumin and being dehydrated. So again, we're making sure that he's drinking good, clean water with minerals put back in. Glutathione's coming up again, so we're still talking about the liver and detoxifying the liver. Let's see, what else? Cardiovascular system actually looks pretty good. Looks like we have parathyroids and cortisol and insulin-like growth factor. So again, we're back to the whole blood sugar management. So can you start to see how like a lot of things are revolving or coming back to some of the things that we've already talked about? Let's see what else we have here. A couple things in the immune system, again, primarily liver. Kidneys look good. Yeah, so some of the detox phases in the liver and gallbladder are showing up. So again, liver. Thyroid function, we have calcitonin. So now we already know there's a correlation between calcitonin and the parathyroids. And I already talked about liver coming up. So calcitonin's job is actually to decrease blood calcium. And then the parathyroid is to increase blood calcium levels. So his calcitonin's a 9 and parathyroid's a 1. Not really quite sure what's going on with that. Again, that's something that just recently popped up. So we're going to keep an eye and see what is the correlation there. Food allergies have gotten a lot less. Still taking out eggs, dairy, gluten, and nuts. Some of the chronic infections besides mold, we have Borrelia, we have Mycoplasma, heavy metals, and parasites. So those are what are straining the immune system, which is triggering the cytokines, which is triggering the ferritin and the circulating immune complex. So there's a correlation there. And then I mentioned copper. Copper's come up twice in 2 different categories. In one category, it was a 9. In another category, it was a 1. So I'm wondering if he's low copper. Or we're going to do some investigating on that. Okay, so we talked about methionine, homocysteine, histamine, copper, and boron. So those are a lot of the things that are a recurring pattern for this scan. So methionine is found in meat, seafood, dairy, eggs, sesame seeds, and that's what gets converted into homocysteine. Homocysteine is a byproduct of protein metabolism, as methionine. It is metabolized either by remethylation or transsulfuration. The transsulfuration phase uses B6. The remethylation phase uses folate or B12. Usually when you see a lot of homocysteine, you want to look at what the cardiovascular system is doing. That can increase or create some issues with heart disease. The methylation is to clear the homocysteine out of the body. If that is inhibited, you want to decrease your meat or protein consumption. Consume bone broth with proline and glycine to balance out the methionine. Histamine, usually if it's low, you're going to be an over-methylator. If it's high, you're going to be an under-methylator. So typically, if you're low, you don't want to be giving those people any SSRIs. Copper raises sodium, calcium, decreases potassium, and decreases zinc. And then vitamin C actually lowers copper. So we need to keep an eye on this. Again, this has been 2 scans that we've done where that has shown up. Boron is something that is necessary. It builds strong bones. It increases testosterone, which actually his testosterone came in at a 2 today. It helps metabolize vitamins and minerals, as does estrogen, and his estradiol actually came up as an 8. Typically, boron you're going to find in apples, potatoes, and beans. So again, there's some other correlations there between testosterone and estrogen. Did I miss anything? We talked about histamine, homocysteine, methionine. Homocysteine, yeah. So some other things could be balancing the blood sugar, heavy metal exposure, and chronic infections can deplete methyl groups. So we already know he's got heavy metal exposure. We already know that balancing blood sugar is an issue. And we already know there's chronic infections because we found Borrelia, Mycoplasma, and mold. So those are the chronic infections. So yes, we're going to keep an eye on some of this stuff. Again, we're only 2 scans in the 6-month gut program. And so, like I said, the things that have popped up in the highlighted are what we're focusing on right now, because those are the trends or the patterns that are reoccurring in not only all of the scans I've done, but in vitals, in inner voice, and in body systems. So instead of kind of looking at everything and trying to nitpick and fix every little line, you kind of want to like look at everything, like what we just kind of talked about. We looked at everything. We looked to see like how many things are connected or interrelated with just that one thing. And then you want to start looking at that one thing and again, track that over time, see if it's getting better, see if it's improving, see if you maybe need to add a supplement, however you want to do it. I like to do muscle testing. Sometimes muscle testing will confirm either my intuition or confirm or back up what the scanner is telling me. So again, try not to get so overwhelmed with every little line on the vitals and trying to understand what all that means, because it's a lot. Kind of like take a step back and look at everything and then see how everything is interrelated with each other, and then decide, is it something that really needs to be remediated? Does it need to be detoxed? Obviously, you can tell by some of the stuff we talked about today, like liver detoxification is a huge thing. Heavy metals could be in there burdening, the liver and keeping it from detoxifying. And then we already know that there's hydration issues. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into play. I also like to take a less is more approach. So I like to do less and see what the body does. Sometimes I think people just over supplement sometimes and rely on supplements instead of getting real food. I like to get my clients to get real food nutrition or real food supplementation, and really only supplement when it's needed, because that's exactly what a supplement is for. You're only supposed to supplement when it is needed. And ideally, you want to be able to restore a lot of function in your body so that you can get off of a lot of this stuff. So hopefully that's helped. This is just a Cliff Notes version of what I usually sit and do. But hopefully this helps you guys kind of like start to put the dots together.